Hi, welcome back. Looking the same because I'm filming this the same day that I filmed my other video, and I'm hoping to actually get a lot of videos done. So excuse the fact that I look the same, but let's just pretend I wake up like this every day and my hair looks this great. Okay, today we're gonna go over sleep hygiene. This is very important because sleep matters so much to our mood, how productive we are, like all of these different things, and I think we don't talk enough about sleep. We just figure like, okay, you should get 8 hours, so go to bed and make sure you have 8 hours. But how many of us go into bed and then we can't sleep? We just lay there and toss and turn, or I think about things like, I'll think about something from like 10 years ago that has no significant purpose, but I just have nothing better to do than think about things that happened 10 years ago. Or I hear songs in my head and I'm singing them and I can't stop. Like, it's crazy how much I can't go to sleep sometimes. And I feel like there are ways to help with your sleep, but we just don't talk about them. So I'm kind of hoping that today we could talk about them. And I took some notes because I actually really thought about this. So if you see me looking down, that's why. But let's start with some of the obvious and then we'll kind of go into some other things. So first of all, you want to set a schedule. And your schedule should give you time to sleep 8 hours, but also beyond just the fact that it allows you to have a slot of 8 hours, when we stay on a routine, our body is more likely to get used to it. So if I try going to bed at 9 o'clock one night and then the other night I'm going to bed at midnight, and then the next night it's 10:30 and then it's 11:45 and now I'm back to 9 o'clock, my body is not in a routine. It doesn't know when it's supposed to be going to bed. So setting a schedule allows us to get into the habit and our body will become aware. So like let's say we decide, okay, every night I'm going to bed at 10:30. Our body over time, not right away, like not after the first 2 or 3 days, but over time our body will start to realize like, oh, this is when we go to bed, and it'll get used to that routine. And so it's super helpful to not only create a space or a slot or a time period for 8 hours, but also the same time period. Now, on the weekends, you can go to bed later. I suppose that won't help, or I mean, it won't hurt too much, but you should really be trying to stay on a consistent schedule. Now, not only do you want to go to bed at the same time, but you want to wake up at the same time, because the same concept will apply. If our body can get used to going to bed at 10:30, it can also get used to sleeping or waking up at 6 a.m. Although I'm not waking up at 6 a.m., so I'm just going to throw this out as a disclaimer. Like, I'm not trying to tell you the actual times because I love to sleep. I'm not getting up at 6 a.m. That's not me. That's not what I do. That's just not me. But more realistically, I'll be getting up at like 7:30 or 8 because that's what I have to do. So set a time for sleep and set a time for waking up. Now, it's very easy to want to sleep in, but if you really want this to work, you gotta get yourself up when you say you're getting up and get your body used to it. Okay, as we're talking about sleep, it's also important to talk about napping. I personally don't nap unless if I'm just so exhausted that it needs to happen, because when we take a nap, we let our body recharge. And if you do that too late in the day or for too long, of course you're not going to be tired. So if we go back to the example of I'm going to start going to bed at 10:30 every night, well, if I take a nap when I get home from work, and let's say I take that nap from 6 to 7:30, well, now I feel re-energized. So I'm not going to be ready for sleep at 10:30. So we have to be aware of when we're taking naps. Now, like I said, if it absolutely has to happen, sometimes we just have days where we're like, I'm so exhausted that I'm just not going to function if I don't nap. Take a nap, but try to make it on the shorter side and try to really be aware of what time it's happening. And if it's already like 7, 8, no naps, right? If we could push it off, let's push it off, because then when 10:30 rolls around, we're going to be even more tired than we already are, and we're more likely to go to sleep. Another one that I think most people know is avoiding caffeine, but not even just regular caffeine, like no decaf, no nothing, right? Set a time for yourself. So let's say after 1 p.m., I'm not going to drink any more coffee. Honestly, I think that that's kind of late, but I don't really know. I don't drink coffee. So I'm not going to speak from my own personal experience, but what I will say is that the research shows that caffeine can stay in your system for up to 10 hours. So if you need it in the morning and that's your thing and you love it, then okay, that's fine. But really, you shouldn't be having it throughout the day, because maybe 1 o'clock comes around and you're feeling tired at work. And so you're like, this is going to help me be productive at work. But then when you get home, it's still lingering in your body. It doesn't just leave your body after an hour. It doesn't know, oh, I left work, so now it doesn't need the caffeine, so get rid of it. It's going to linger, and then it's going to keep you up at night. The next one is something that I learned in college from one of my professors. So most of the people that went to my college, they lived on campus. And when you're in a dorm, at least the dorms that I know of, they're pretty small. And I was lucky, I never really had roommates, but especially if you're sharing with a roommate, it becomes even smaller. So what people tend to do is you're in your dorm and you're on your bed a lot. So you might do your homework in bed. You might, if you're not in school or in college anymore, maybe you come home from work, you take a shower, eat dinner, whatever, and then you get into bed with your laptop and finish some of your work. So you're working in bed, you're studying in bed, maybe you eat in bed, you watch TV in bed. All these things are happening in bed. And our mind doesn't realize, like, hey, this is a place to sleep. We just see it as like we do everything here. So it's very important to get into the habit of only sleeping in bed. It will make a difference, because now your mind, if your mind only associates your bed with sleep, when you get into bed, your mind's going to be like, oh, it's time to go to sleep. But if you're always doing everything in bed, your mind's going to get into bed and be like, oh, let's turn the TV on. Let's finish some of that work from earlier. Let's send some of those emails, because it's in the habit of doing whatever in bed. Okay. This goes into the next one, which is turning off screens. And I know how hard this can be. I personally don't like to sleep with the TV on, but I know people who they have to have the TV on. But it's distracting, because if you're in bed and then you hear something interesting, now you're looking at the television, your mind isn't thinking we're going to sleep. It's like, oh, what's going on over there? We're watching it. Something I do struggle with that's outside of the whole TV situation is being on my phone. I'll get into bed and I will not be tired, and so I'm like, oh, okay, whatever, I'm up. And then before you know it, I'm scrolling through YouTube or Instagram, or I'm looking at my emails, or I'm doing whatever. It got so bad to the point where I now don't have the Instagram app on my phone and I don't have the YouTube app on my phone, because when it's there, I'm on it, and then before I know it, I'm looking at the clock, I'm like, oh, it's 11, I'll just stay on for a half hour more, and then all of a sudden it's 1:30 in the morning, and I'm like, how did this just happen? Like, it's not okay, right? So we don't want to be distracted. We need to turn off the screens. Beyond just the obvious distractions, it's also studied or researched that the blue light that comes off of the screens messes up our natural sleeping habits. I'm not a scientist. I don't know how to explain it. I just know that when our body or our eyes are looking at this blue light, it is stimulating to us, and then it's even harder to go to bed. So maybe you've been on the phone for an hour, you shut it off, and you think, okay, well, now it's dark and I'm just going to fall asleep, but you're not, because your mind is still very alert and aware. Something else that I was recently told by one of my supervisors, because I got to work one day, I would have supervision at 9 a.m. on Mondays, and I told her, I'm like, I'm just so tired. I couldn't go to sleep. I'm tossing and turning last night. And she said to me, if you're not tired, get out of bed. So, and I was kind of like, well, that's not very helpful, because I'm trying to go to sleep, so why would I get myself out of bed? But what she explained to me, I thought really kind of made sense. She was saying, first of all, like, if you're not tired, trying to force yourself to go to sleep probably won't work, because then your mind is going to get more either irritated, or you're going to put a lot of pressure on yourself. You're going to be thinking about how you have to fall asleep, and it's not going to work. So what she suggested is, you don't get up and look at your phone. You don't get up and watch a movie. You don't do any of that. But she said, just get yourself up and out of bed, maybe like 15, 20 minutes. Go get a glass of water, maybe read a book, maybe journal. Do something that's really calming and just allows you to get rid of that extra little bit of energy without putting pressure on yourself or trying to force yourself to go to sleep. Just be aware, hey, my body is not tired right at this moment. I'm going to go and do something to allow it to continue to move and get tired, and then put yourself back to sleep. And oddly, I found for myself, it often works. It doesn't work every single time. Like, there are just some nights where I'm just not tired, and I don't know why. But it has been helpful, because if you're somebody like me, it is true. I'll be in bed and I'll be like, oh my God, go to sleep, Carissa. And I'll be thinking like, I don't know, count to 10 or count to 30 or do this or do that or try to meditate. And it's like my mind is still going and it's working really hard because it thinks it has to make me go to sleep. And the more that it's working, the less likely I am to go to sleep. So it's been helpful for me. One of the last things I want to say is make your room comfortable and clean. This is just a personal thing. I'm not saying there's research behind this, but what I've found for myself is that if my room is a hot mess disaster and there's stuff scattered everywhere, I have a hard time falling asleep. And I don't know if that's because I finally lay down and then I'm looking at the room or thinking about the room and I'm like, oh my God, I should just go over there and put that away, or whatever the case may be. I think if you have a cluttered area, it's easy for your mind to be cluttered. And so I try, even if I don't have enough time to like legit clean the room, I'm not saying go all out and scrub your walls and be extra about it. I'm just saying make sure it's a comfortable, calm place. So those are my tips. And the only other thing I would say, but I didn't research this, so I'm not going to say for sure, but you know, you shouldn't be eating like really heavy meals right before bed, and you should probably just be aware of like what you're putting into your body before you go to sleep. It kind of goes back to the whole caffeine thing, right? Like just allow yourself to take care of whatever you need to take care of during the day. Follow your schedule. Go to bed when you're supposed to go to bed. No screen time. Make it an area for you, and only be in bed when you want to sleep. That was a very quick recap, and I don't even know if I recapped everything, but I was trying to have a little moment there. So with that being said, I hope that if you're struggling and you're trying to go to sleep better or more or whatever, I hope this is helpful. I'm sure there's going to be people watching this video at like 2 in the morning. They're going to be Googling like, why can't I fall asleep? And this is going to come up. And I hope that it helps you for tomorrow night, and maybe you'll make some changes. So have a good rest of your day, a good rest of your night. Thank you for watching this video, and I will see you in my next video. And I might look exactly the same. All right, thank you.